It wasn't like an actual meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just so it almost
Yes.
seems like the fire code is directly associated with
Dwelling.
home occupation.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But again, I've never heard of fire code on your property as a driveway.
Okay.
Especially agriculture. Something I'm unfamiliar with.
Yeah, for
All
a
right.
barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? So it kind of sounds like we ought to go ahead and have a condition. Would anybody want to propose a motion to have a condition of, just as Eddie mentioned, that if it appears that we have to have it meets the fire code, then we have to do that. So,
Typically, the person that made the first motion is the one that you can have anybody can
Okay.
make a condition, but typically the person that makes the proposed motion has to agree.
okay. Well, I'll go ahead and do that. Make a motion that we approve this based on the condition that if it needs to meet fire code, then they'll have to address that. Yeah.
Or any other
Yeah.
agency.
Okay. Right.
Second?
Right now, there was already a motion on the floor, right? Because I believe Commissioner Miller made the first motion and Commissioner Gallegos made the second motion, right? So because of that, we're going to vote on the condition.
Okay.
That Mr. Chairman did, and then we have to vote again to take care of the other motion on the floor, which was first made by. I mean, does the same thing. It just seems redundant, but because there was two motions.
Okay.
You understand why we're doing it?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so this is for the condition, meeting all requirements set by fire code and any other agency such as CAD and such. That's gonna be, Commissioner Gallegos.
Yes, with conditions only if required.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes, with conditions as required.
Mr. Chair Walkinshaw,
Yes, with conditions.
Madam Vice Chair Alba,
Yes, please, with conditions.
and Commissioner Novell.
Yes, with conditions.
All right, so the motion, with conditions, as necessary, is 5-0, motion passes. And again, because of the original motion, we're gonna take another vote to close that one out. And again, this was the overall approval of the application. Commissioner Gallegos,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
No.
okay, Mr. Chair Walkinshaw.
Well, I have one question. I think Commissioner Miller made a motion because I asked him, because remember you started talking about the project, but I hadn't had a motion yet that we're going to address that project. I think, isn't that what you,
Could you do motions? I have here,
Motion to
motion,
dis-
and then the-
to address it?
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Vice Chair Alba did the second.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So right now, we're voting. We do have a yes with Commissioner Gallegos, no with Commissioner Miller. Mr. Chair.
No.
Madam Vice Chair Alba
Yes.
and Commissioner Novell.
Yes.
All right, so we have 3 yeses, 2 no, motion passes. And it's basically the same thing. It's a pass with conditions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's why I got a little confused about it.
Generally, whenever you do a motion, you can put another motion ahead.
Right,
After that,
right.
you have to vote twice.
You have to do it twice.
It's always
Individually.
It's always best if we make the original motion and they agree with it, that they amend it, not another commissioner.
Got
So
it.
you only vote one time.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you. Okay, so now we're ready to go to C, which is a sign permit 061958 at 2461 Calle de Principal, submitted by Irma Chavez / May, requesting a sign for their HC business. So can I get a motion to address this project?
So moved.
Second.
First motion by Commissioner Gallego, second motion by Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
This is a case number 064958. Address is 2461 Granite, it's probably submitted by Grandma John's Committee. It is for site permit. Don't remember, I don't know if the P and Z or commission recalls, but a while back, she was approved by two freestanding permits.
Yeah.
Her original plan was to have one the cantina and one the cafe.
Mhm.
But, she has some pushback from the alcohol bureau.
Right.
So she took one of those signs down. She only has the one that says Natalie's on it.
Right.
So she is wanting to put a sign on the opposite side.
Principal,
And
right.
which is still gonna be two permits. So because it was relocated to the other side, I felt, the commission needed to understand that. So
So,
she still have two sides.
okay. Any questions? I do have one or a few. Yeah, I understand that. So the other post that's in front of where the bar was going to be, that's not going to be occupied, right? Because you had a little cross. Yeah.
One's got a cross on it.
Yeah.
That pole's up in there.
Okay.
Now.
Whether
right
they're
now,
gonna
I'm not being asked to use that.
to take it down.
She might come out later and say, hey,
You want to put
I
those
have
up?
another tenant, kind of have, I talked to her.
Yeah.
Physically, signage right now, we're looking at because according to our code, it's gotta be a one sign for business
Yeah.
plus, what do you call it?
Register.
Directory.
Directory. Thank you. Yeah.
So, yeah, she understood that, but because again, she was
Okay.
already approved for two, we're just moving one over.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I did have another question as far as the A-frame sign out in front of the establishment. And what I wonder about is when I read the code about A-frames, they have to be on premises. In other words, it doesn't need to be, and this one is. So what I'd suggest is, well, she's not requesting it as far as this permit, but I would suggest that they move that inside the smaller wall. I mean, there's two gates, basically the gate close to the first gate, and then there's another gate back there. Now, the owner before that had this, he had his based on the premises and away from the blocking the roadway, the driveway. But
Point of order. I'm sorry, we're not discussing that. We're discussing what she wants now.
okay, yeah, I guess I could drop that, and I'd like to have codes take a look at that. Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Salazar, so the sign that's X'd out, was that ABC that said that you cannot advertise alcohol? What was the reason for that?
What mentioned is because she named it cantina,
Uh,
cantina.
Right.
She couldn't use that term because
Ah.
wherever she's selling food or she wasn't really applying for all hard alcohol was more for lighter like wines and stuff like that. So she couldn't use that term. So she called it once name was Madeline's, and now it's not cafe and cantina. So she
But
said
It's one.
It doesn't, but it doesn't go against our current code, correct? It's just ABC.
Yeah, she
Okay.
still has two signs. I guess
Okay.
the application should have said relocation of one sign.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Chair, ready for the vote?
Yes, sir.
All right, Commissioner Gallego,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Chihuahua,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Alba,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Now we're up to number D, and it's the PNC number permit policy for the town of Mesilla, based on 15.15.003 building permit approval process. So I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, first motion by Commissioner Gallego, second motion by Commissioner Miller. This is a, SOP or a policy as our
Hmm.
code, dictates, that our, commission, puts together. This is, reflecting on our last meeting, I wouldn't training, but, presentation that I gave. I am open for any questions. I did write down some concerns, I believe from, public comment or public input. The permit approval process, need all the documentation as part of, okay, so the, as I mentioned, I'll explain it again, so I want to make sure we're clear. Feel free, please ask questions. Is whenever you apply for a permit and it requires CAD construction paper, right,
Mhm.
like the engineer stamps and stuff.
Right.
According to our code, and I apologize, right, I can't reference it, but it is on this packet.
Mhm.
According to our code, it states that, the plans, the site plans, all that stuff needs to be submitted, and they are, right, to us, but they don't require to be engineer stamped, right? The
Right.
engineer stamps are only required by CID, right? It's beneficial that they submit it to us, so we can see the actual plans, right?
Right.
If they want to, they can just draw up, something on a piece of paper and submit it. And Ryan, this is what I want to commission, because we are not certified, including myself, to read plans.
Right.
We're not engineers and such. That's why we have CAD to regulate that for us, right? But as long as we understand what they're trying to do, right, and sometimes they're able to write plans on a scratch piece of paper or a site plan.
They've done that.
Aerial shot, right? I do that all the time. Aerial shot of property, the shed's gonna go right here. As long as we all understand, that's what the whole purpose of that is for, right? Now, the only thing that needs to have an engineer stamp is a property plat if the proposed structure is within 5 feet or less of the setback.
Mhm.
Right, so for instance, you wanna have an addition and you're coming close to the property line, then we need an engineer stamp property plat to verify
Right.
that that property line is in the space where it needs to be at.
Right.
If it's more than 5 feet, then it's up to the commission to waive that if necessary, to waive that.
Waive that
without make that a
requirement.
Because having a property plat, if you don't have one on file, they can get pretty costly as well.
Yeah.
For maybe a simple shed that, I think it could be something we're asking a little bit too much from an applicant from doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, the paperwork does need to be submitted. It does need to be engineer stamped. I recommend that they do, so that way whenever it leaves my office, it has all of our stamps. Whenever it goes to CID, they don't have to come
It's done.
back and get them
It's done.
re-stamped and then, it's just all in one shot. But in order for the purpose of approval, sometimes they don't get them in on time, and, and
Right.
it's okay. But they still need to come back and then they need to get all the requirements CID needs.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes that's where it becomes a little confusion, that they don't submit all the engineer stamps to me, but they do submit, some hand drawings.
Right.
Again, for the purpose of approval, that's still okay to us, but through CID, they do need to be engineer stamped. Any questions?
Eddie,
That part?
you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Salazar, so like when we're doing a workshop, is that when we'll see these handwritten plans or whatever they're doing? Or
Yeah.
what happens if they're not in our packets and we don't know what is actually going on just because it says that they're doing something? Do we still approve that?
It gets submitted. The only thing you won't see it in your packet when you have a hearing. If you
Okay.
have a hearing, those are quasi judicial, you won't have any packets
Right.
whatsoever, and you'll get
Until
that
we-
the day of.
The day of.
Right, and those are, that's what happened with this last one, is you don't get those packets, you get them at the day of. That's how quasi judicial hearings are held. Sometimes it's a little unsettling, because you don't have, we all do our homework, right? We all read and everything. It's a little unsettling, but as it dictates,
That's-
just like a regular criminal trial, the judges, which you all are, base their decision, and the jury base their decision, but it's presented.
Witness.
That- That's not true. That's not true, because the judges get the case beforehand, and quasi judicial, excuse me, I'm sorry, quasi judicial, right? But quasi judicial, all of our cases are that, because we're not judges. So all of our cases are quasi judicial.
There's two types of meetings that we have. We have the executive, which is meetings that we have generally for the public as a whole.
Mhm.
And in the quasi judicial hearings are for a specific party or person. That's pretty much the definition that dictates our handbook, not so much our code. That dictates our case. I believe I did all that handbook, and that's what it states right on the handbook.
This
And
one?
then-
This one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that quasi judicial, it outlines how that needs to be,
Done.
processed. It's not exactly, because the prosecutor and defense, they go into the chambers and they come up with a agreement. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff, but it's similar to something like that.
Mr. Salazar, these rules are set by the New Mexico Municipal League, correct?
They're recommended, the municipalities.
They're just recommendation.
Yeah, and very few municipalities will do not venture from that, because when they need support, it's kind of hard to ask for support. And everything.
If they're not
You
going
should've
by
asked-
the rules.
you should've done the way we recommend you acting from.
Yeah.
So most of them mirror what the handbook states on there, so we just, so again, we have authority to change that, but typically we go with what because they have lawyers and attorneys and they do all that stuff. And we go with their trainings, we do all that stuff, so it'd be not a good idea.
Yeah.
to Not follow their advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a question about what's required in the stamp. As I understand, an engineer's stamp it's also for HC, right? Commercial.
Commercial.
Yeah,
Commercial.
okay. Okay, just wanted to
Any
make sure.
commercial needs to have, any needs to have
Yeah.
a contract from the
Yeah.
county.
Yeah.
See, through the CIA, they have two kinds of permits, I don't know how many they have, but I know one of the permits they have is that they have a homeowner's
Right.
building permit, which they pull, the owner pulls themselves, that if it does need to require a certified contractor, it works under their permit, right? If I got a middle of the garage, and eventually I'm gonna need an electrician, then it's my duty, the permit's under my name,
Right.
I will have to subcontract that job to that.
For
and
electric.
That permit, that our contractor would have to go get a permit.
Okay, right.
The original permit is through the homeowner.
Oh, okay.
Kind of similar to, anything
Right.
that's commercial, that needs to be, worked on, does definitely need a contract.
Okay, thank you.
One last question, Mr. Salazar. Forgive me for my ignorance, but
Hopefully that-
would this be considered an administrative approval
Which part?
without
SOP.
having to come before planning and zoning?
Now, there is, if you look at, this is our standard operation, this is the policy, if you look at the second page,
Mhm.
this is something that was presented to the board of trustees twice already. All right, this was kind of, I kind of brought up the permit process to the commission, so maybe, as part of the resolution, and this is a recommendation from this commission. If you look at the very end, right here, at the second page, it'll tell you what, I will be, authorized to approve. If you notice, not very much, it's actually a lot less, right? So, see, for instance, business licenses under our code, P and Z, have final approval.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
PZHAC.
Mhm.
So somehow past practices, led us to have dual approval, and it has to go to BOT for final approval. And according to our
That
code,
change.
specific places, it states, PZHAC are the ones that have final approval.
Okay, okay.
So that way, when you notice that, HR, HCFC, it's blacked out at my end, I'm not able to authorize those, it would have to go to, again, this commission, that's why it's red. And I will, and R1, RA, RF, because it's home occupation license and stuff like that, then, that's a different story. And signage, the same thing, all the yellow ones are recommendations, and all the red ones are approving authority.
Okay,
That's how it is. And the very last one, it wasn't there, whenever it went to the trustees, but that was just recently approved.
The short-term rental. right.
Sorry.
Yeah, ask him.
No, go ahead.
Do you have an extra one? Because all of us doesn't have that.
You can have mine.
Oh.
I remember, it's all right here.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
Yes.
but that's making more questions.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
No, thank you.
Again, the reason why I'm bringing this up again now is because we have a lot of work to do. I mean, and I think a lot of this stuff that we got, including preservation,
Turned out.
COPs, all these things. And I'm just trying to get a little bit of
Streamlined.
Streamline. Such as having discussions with self-power, such as coming up with, so many things that I think, we're taking up a lot of time. It's not me. I don't feel it is, but,
Okay.
it will still need to be approved. This is a recommendation policy. It will still need to be approved, through the board of trustees.
Right. Okay, thank you. So next, that's all of that. So we're into the discussion about the wireless telecommunication facilities, which is 18.54. discussion proposed for amendments and ideas.
Mr. Chair, that permit policy, the SOP was under an action.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
for discussion.
Okay.
There was a first motion by Commissioner Gallego and a second motion by Commissioner Miller. So the next step, the commission will be the vote.
Vote. Okay.
for approval.
Yeah, please.
Commissioner Gallego,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood,
Yes.
Madam Vice Chair Alba,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Now we're coming to the discussion about wireless telecommunication facilities, and that's our code 18.54. And apparently we're looking at, which is good news, we're looking at some amendments and ideas about how to improve that.
No, the mayor has assigned some parts of our code to the trustees to help spearhead a lot of these inconsistencies that we have in our code. One of them is telecommunications, because we did experience our first one almost about a year ago, and that there was a lot of questions and concerns that came about once we approved that case. Now, that case was approved in September. They haven't started construction yet. My understanding, there's some hang up with SHPO, some cultural affairs. It's under review, but I did reach out to the applicant. The applicant that came down and represented Pinnacle Peak is no longer with them.
Right.
Mr. Grab no longer with them. There's another person in charge. They are the ones that answered me, and I advised them that the permit that was issued, zoning permit, which is the construction one,
Right.
is good for a year. After
Right.
a year, it expires. So if it does expire at that point, it is important that we establish a solid telecommunications code so that some of the mistakes maybe that we made in the past, we won't repeat them again, right? They do have an option to extend
Their time.
permit for 6 months,
Mhm.
but that would have to come to the board for review. And in case if that does happen, and this code's already been implemented or adopted by the board of trustees, then they would have to conform to our recent code. And they're not grandfathered for that one because their code expired.
Whoa.
Because
Yes,
Okay.
the permit expired. Okay.
That's interesting.
the other
Yeah.
permit they got was a special use permit. Now, the
Right.
special use permit to be able to have a cell tower on property, that's a lifetime. You can't
Yeah.
take that one away. That doesn't expire. But the
Oh.
actual building, the setbacks, all that stuff, obviously is up for discussion in case it does expire. in
Oh.
September.
Well, that's good news. Yeah.
Now, so with that, trustee Nevares was
Assign that.
to
Yeah.
look at
you're right.
the telecommunication one. Now you asked me to do something, I'd like to get it done because, we do require our code requires a 30-day notice in the newspaper for any amendments and such. So the mayor was looking at having a hearing, multiple hearings, all the small little changes in different.
Right.
ordinances,
Right.
by the first meeting in April. So that was cutting it down, so I need to post that, as for hearing.
Yeah. Soon.
So therefore, I got the basics, me and him, Trustee Nevares had a meeting, I took some notes, and I wrote down some of his concerns that he had. That's what we're discussing today.
That's what's highlighted here. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, my understanding, today he stopped by me at my office, and I was not aware that he is working on the orders on his own, along with some help with some of the residents. I was not aware of that, no. He's gonna have a meeting on Wednesday with the mayor concerning not just this, but other, I'm told, other subjects. But
Right.
this is one of the things that's gonna come out, and I advise him that maybe ask the mayor, by him working alone with other residents, if an ad hoc committee would be recommended. Instead of, working at it, the kitchen.
Yeah.
In the personal home, it kind of feels a little awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. I
You
agree.
still can, they would just have to be out of pocket, $350 for the hearing. But you still can, anybody can work on proposed ordinances and bring them up, as long as you pay for the hearing, you can still do that. But this is not that, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to establish some amendments, and they have them adopted as part of the commission and as a whole, not an individual party. So anyway, that's why, so keep in mind the discussion we're having today is not just all this, there's some more, that are gonna come up, some more draft, once the rough draft is finished, I'll present it as a rough draft for
Right.
recommendation to the board. Right now, it's just a discussion, kind of
Okay.
like an informal one.
Okay.
The very top here, I put work document, a Word document you're not familiar with, typically has in red is what you're gonna strike out, and blue is what you recommend to add, right? I had a couple notes, the C is a highlighted one, and that's just to highlight,
For dis-
the commission, so there's no
Discussion.
changes being proposed or being made, just to highlight, bring it up to your forefront. And then these in green, those are just notes that I'm making on the document, such as, do we really wanna do that, do we think that's a good idea, or whatever, so I don't forget while I'm presenting this to the commission. So starting with that, if we're gonna flip through our pages, and our first proposed, not proposed, but highlighted was on page number 5 out of 20, 1854-030, section C, it is highlighted, it reads, public property owned or otherwise controlled by the town of Mesilla may be exempt from the requirements of this chapter. Okay, that is one of the things that the trustee Nevada's mentioned that he would like to change, that, the town of Mesilla, I'd like to set a good example and,
Yeah.
and ask for change on that. You finish it up?
Oh, okay.
Go back.
Okay.
Okay, I'm page, a couple next pages, there's a few here. This is, letter or number M, it says signs. It said, originally it read, no sign shall be allowed on the antenna or tower other than the signage required by the FCC. There was a discussion, with the Arts and Culture, Committee, or ad hoc committee,
Mhm.
about, something, proposing like a mural or the town of Mesilla or something like that. Well, this section of our code does not allow us to do that, right? So that's why it is being proposed as it is now, to, in case we
Drop
do, make a condition of our next approval, that we might be able to do something like that.
Okay.
And blue, in addition to that, the town of Mesilla reserves the right to request public signage on structures such as murals and the name of our town.
Good.
P, you go down same page,
Mhm.
letter P, view corridors. Okay, I think this was probably one of the most important ones.
It's a challenge.
It talks about no wireless communication tower facility is allowed within 660 feet or 1/8 mile of the outer edge of the right of way of any designated view corridors. My understanding right now that our code,
We don't have any.
there is no view corridor.
There
We don't have
isn't
any of them adopted as view corridors. So it'll be a good idea to establish those corridors and adopt them into our code, so that way you shouldn't be able to see them from these view corridors where you sit.
Right.
Right. Now, you can't make the whole town see a
Yeah.
view corridors, obviously within reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think instead of trying to set setbacks, it's hard to set, you gotta have 100 feet setback. But what are the properties only,
From where?
from where, right? So if you establish view corridors and adopt this to this section, then I shouldn't be able to see, and I think that's what's important, right? People don't want to be able to see from the main arteries, I think, right?
Yeah.
Calle Sur, Calle Norte, those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, again, it's just something to think about,
Yeah.
or move forward, what parts of Mesilla should be established as view corridor. The next page over, number 2, site located height model. All this section right here, all this in red, and they don't do balloon testing anymore. It's kind of like old school where there wasn't any computer animation.
Yeah.
Scissor lifts or anything like that.
Right.
So, since we're not gonna use that anymore, I think I just kind of struck that out. That's okay with the community. And then I don't have very many more. I don't think I do. The next page, there's a green here after C height. It says an existing tower may be modified or rebuilt to a taller height not to exceed 30 feet over the tower's existing height, to accommodate the co-location of an additional antenna. The height change may occur only one time per communication tower, and an additional height cannot require any additional distance separation as set for. So pretty much what it's saying is, you put one single carrier, there is a requirement for setback, it needs to be away, and then this is allowing it to go up 30 feet without having to move the tower. And I don't think that's a good
That's not
idea.
good.
I think the tower should already be set back.
Anticipated for that.
There's 2 or 3
Yes.
additional carriers on, so that's why
Makes sense.
I made that agreement.
Good job.
The next one down, it is highlighted, on-site location, a tower which is being rebuilt to accommodate the co-location of an additional antenna may be moved on site within 50 feet of this existing location. If the tower is moved to accommodate co-location, only one tower may remain on the site. Okay, so what that means is you have two towers with each its own carrier.
Mhm.
And if you want to move one, then you gotta grab this carrier and you gotta put it on the antenna that you use, so that leaves only one antenna. So that way you're
good.
not having to move both
Yeah.
at the same time. Okay. I'm
Okay,
not
got
asking
Good.
for any changes, I'm just highlighting
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
that's kind of hard to understand. And if you read it, I have read it a few times. And then there, right below it says 1854-60 on the heights, again, the view corridor, did highlight that on this, so. Just so we can discuss what our view corridors are gonna be. On the next page 12/20, section C2, I added a subsection D. PZHAC reserves the right to request additional distance to avoid any negative
Yeah.
impact from any view corridors.
Excellent.
That's additional to, that formula that we have, 10% more than the height and such. I just had to throw that in just so there's black and white that, you all have the authority to add.
The latitude, yeah. Good.
Distances. They're at the same page and towards the bottom, section D. It says concealed wireless communication facilities are permitted within the C zone, providing that following conditions are met. Now, the question is, if it's permitted in the C zone, should they be permitted also at historic commercial? And why not? I mean, we're not gonna write that off, but, because all of their screen, right? One of the things that I thought of, there's so much screening, I think last time we went through this, they put them inside buildings,
Yeah.
put them out, you can't even tell they're there.
Right.
Because of the new technology or architectural designs, should we not allow them in the historic, or should we allow them? If we allow them here, say for instance here at the town hall, we can get the revenue off of that, right? Instead of some private party. Again, that's just up for discussion.
If
not
it's
a
concealed,
recommendation.
concealed, if it's
Yeah.
concealed, yeah.
I always say that, because I always say, I would love a clock tower. At the very entrance of kind of like the one when you go to a big old hotel,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got this drive, there's a big old clock tower around. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It's still tower around April. And then for New Year's Eve, then we all gather in the parking lot, we all count it down. There you go.
Drop a chili.
Drop the chili.
Yep. The next page, 15 out of 20.
15.
Number 13, a site plan showing all property within 1,500 feet of the perimeter of the proposed property that will house the proposed WTF. And that stands for wireless telecommunication facilities, in case you're thinking about something else. A list of the owners of each of the affected properties and their mailing addresses are shown on the Mariana County Assessor's Office. Whenever I send out letters for notification, everything's based on Assessor's Office, the tax, that is the legal.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not updated, right? For whatever reason, it's not our responsibility to update the records, but sometimes they want to get no letter, I live over here, I'm not gonna be chasing, homeowners down. But what I did is an approved notification letter, which is a letter typed by us or staff, but the cell tower will be the ones to send that and be responsible for mailing that, because 1,500 feet, that was over 300 letters last
That's a
time.
lot of
Yeah,
letters.
we had to pay for it. That's $8 a letter, which is over $2,000, and that's not.
Yeah.
That's not.
Good
They
job.
need to absorb that cost and the time it takes to get those printed and sent out. Next page 16 out of 20. Screening, letter F, it says screening, WTF shall be landscaped with a buffer of plant material that effectively screens the view of the tower compound. The standard buffer shall consist of landscape strip at least 4 feet wide outside the perimeter of the compound. In addition to that, put on there, screening only appears, not addition, but as far as notes, screening only appears to be relating to the WTF compound, which is the equipment and everything, not so much the tower itself.
The footprint.
Maybe we should add, screening by structural design should be required, depending on, recommendations of the commission. The next one here, 1854-090, application review and inspections. An application review and engineering inspection of fee of 15% of the total estimated cost of the installation of the tower and antenna shall be paid by the applicant upon filing an application for a special use permit with the town. That's pretty much me. Keep on reading, but when I read this, we didn't do it last time. When I read this now, the way I look at it is the applicant has to submit a down payment of 15% of the total cost just for review purposes, not 50% of the payment upfront. I mean, of the permit upfront.
Right.
Which
Right.
generally what we do, right?
Ooh,
Right.
I think it's 15% of the total cost for review purposes in case we need to get our own experts and
Right.
engineers, our own telecommunications
Yeah.
persons or whatever. And whatever's not used after, then they
Gets-
get it back.
oh, okay.
Right, that will-
Can you give us an idea about what the current cell tower cost is going to be? I just want to figure out if 15% is going to be enough.
The tower permit, I remember exactly, because when I saw it, it was $100,000.
For the
construction of the tower. Now, is that reasonable? I never built a cell tower, so I don't
Yeah.
know that. It seems low, honestly to me,
It does
but
to
I
me.
don't know what it is. It's some kind of one of those honor systems. 50% of that, of 100,000 is.
Not much. Yeah. Especially if we have to hire I think I'd recommend hiring an independent consultant rather than the staff doing it here. I mean, we don't know that much about it.
I'm just going off.
We just trust them to give us the right
Yeah,
information.
consultant or,
Right.
somebody that's-
Independent.
Yeah,
Okay.
again, it's just for discussion, 50% might not be enough, but I don't know whether there's a cap
More.
legally on that or not. but
Oh,
that's
right.
what it
Right.
says. And I'm almost done. It says the next page,
18.
under 1854-130, section A3, it says a WTF has been located, constructed, or modified without first obtaining or in a manner not authorized by the required special use permit. Not sure if this section will be appropriate, but language for the town of Mesilla, approved permit expiration process, does applicant have to resubmit, or is a special use permit lifetime? See, in our code, special use permits that we issue are
Lifetime.
lifetime, and I think that's,
Mm.
lifetime is a long time, right? Long time. The last few ones that we did were specific, for a specific person.
Yeah.
Special use permit is for this applicant,
Yeah.
for this
For that project.
particular thing. Yeah, but our permit doesn't dictate, so because there is a special use permit approved for that property, even if Verizon's out of the question, somebody else out of the question, in my eyes, that property's already been approved to have a cell tower on there, and then 10 years later, or whatever, somebody comes around and wants to put one there too. I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
Right.
I don't think it should be.
Yeah, I
A
agree.
lot of times the commission has the authority to say, oh, special use permit for a year. I want to put you on the probation for a year. It's just try you out, like maybe
See how it goes.
cannabis wants to do the lounge thing again, or whatever, somebody wants to do a mechanic shop, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll give you a special use permit for a year, as long as you don't have any violations, or maybe they'll give you a permit for 5 years, I don't know, but it's not in our code, but it is a condition, something to think
So we
about.
could change that. No, that makes sense.
And lastly, well, two more.
19. Yeah.
Next page, is page 19, 1854-160 is the penalty. It's the same penalty for everything in our code is anywhere from up to $500 and 90 days in jail. It just seemed to me for a cell
Not enough.
tower, $500 is like pocket change.
Right.
I think it
They'll
needs
laugh
to
at you.
be Maybe percentage.
5K or-
something,
yeah.
More reasonable for a cell tower.
Good.
And the last comment is, that's the very last back of the packet.
Oh,
Should there be a excuse me, excuse me again, should there
Distance.
be a distance requirements for all cell towers in schools? Okay. And the FCC doesn't require that because again, they've exhausted all the possibilities of health concerns and they don't foresee that to be a problem, but we have the authority to regulate, we don't want towers near our schools.
Yeah.
And it needs to be so much different.
yeah.
These are all things that,
Yeah.
we all think about.
I had a brief comment on that one. Realizing that, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it's not allowed in C and HC and HR. Isn't that the only places we have schools? So I don't know if it's really that big of an issue.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If it is allowed.
Yeah.
in the future somehow in
Yeah.
AC and-
Then it'd be nice to have that
Private
language.
school starts.
For private schools, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but maybe we just won't allow. Again, it was just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm open to stand by. Anybody have questions?
Yeah, I do have it's a general comment. that there's nothing in here that says, I'd rather have them go ahead and requirement for a feasibility study done on what's the current technology. Is it cell phone tower? I mean, it's dying. I think it's a dying industry. So my question is, it seems like we have to have some language up front about this, having any kind of contractors coming in here to build a tower. I think we ought to ask for, and they should pay for it, a feasibility study to say if that's the current best technology.
Mr. Chair, would that 15% not cover that cost possibly?
Consultants are expensive. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably low, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, I heard something about what you just mentioned, the cell towers becoming obsolete, this new way of wireless.
Like a mesh
communication and stuff.
system
Mhm.
you have in your home.
Or else satellite.
You know, in your home, you may have a mesh system and it would just be that same concept in the town.
In a bigger scale. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, I made a note of that.
Okay, thank you. I think my other frustration based on our experience from the last issue, it's kind of confusing when you read the wireless telecommunication system, and on the chart in our code it says it's allowed in RF. It's not allowed in any other place other than private.
Correct. Right.
But we also say in this thing, he says, you go back to the RF code, and it says no commercial services unless it's involved in agriculture. So, right away,
Yeah.
but then you have to go to, I think it's 1820.030, which is the special conditions or unclassified uses. And that's when you get into the discussion. And that's what we basically allowed them to do it on, instead of, because it was health, life, safety kind of issues, right? Isn't that correct? Yeah. So
Just recently now, I also was looking at this upcoming hearings that we're proposing to have. Man, you're hitting it right on the head. It's like, what section of the code do you follow? Because sometimes our hearings are dictated by certain sections of our code.
Right.
Like, that's why,
right.
you're mentioning like this one right here, cell towers, really should only been have a hearing with the board of trustees, not with us. We shouldn't have this hearing, the PZ shouldn't have this hearing. I find that out now after reading the more into it.
Right.
We're gonna have a discussion at a different meeting time, but the process of who has what hearings, because our code says, either the board of trustees, the planning and zoning, or board of adjustments will do a resolution. Well, which one?
Yeah.
Either which one, So, it took me a while, so it just, every section has its own, who's gonna do the hearing.
Okay.
Like this one in particular, cell towers,
Right.
it falls under that category that you just finished saying.
Yeah. The special
Special
unclassified.
Classified, unclassified.
Yeah.
That always says on our code, says all unclassified special use permits will be heard by the DOT.
Oh, darn. Wish we would have done that.
And I missed that part, but yeah, so the more and more looking into
Yeah.
it.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good to find this out. So,
Because it's kind of like one of those odd conditions, kind of, we're not normally
Yeah.
used to.
I mean, I'm not talking about changing the RF. I'm just saying it's a little bit contradictory there. I would like to keep the RF the same as far as commercial services, only if it's tied into agricultural.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's worded.
Well, again, we're kind of gonna, going to colleges, the same thing as another.
Yeah.
Colleges are not tied into.
I know.
Colleges, small businesses, owned by companies.
Yeah,
So,
I know. Anyway, but thank you.
when you're trying to use that comb and read through that code, everything, it's
Gives you a headache.
takes some time. Any other comments on the discussion?
I didn't disagree with anything I saw here.
Oh, you have something to say.
I got something more. Oh, you ready? You got something?
No, Chair,
Okay,
continue, please.
Thank you. Getting back, well, you mentioned it on page 5, the C is about public property owned by the town.
Yeah.
I'd like to have that deleted totally. So I think you mentioned that. So
Yeah. it
It's
just
already
doesn't set a
covered.
good-
It caused a
No.
lot
I
of.
mean, like, you guys can't do it, but it's okay.
yeah, we can do it.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And let's see. And again, it wasn't on one of the ones you highlighted on page 7 under I. It says business regulations required. Businesses registrations are required for each WTF, and it comes into commercial purposes. So it's kind of another controversial portion of it.
Now, this is, for commercial purposes, yeah. Located within the town of Mesilla, regardless of whether said structure is freestanding, co-located, facial, or roof mounted. Yeah, it's a business.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no argument.
Sure.
But let's see. Oh, getting back to view corridors, that's going to be a big job. But it's, a lot of it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's arbitrary, but it's like mostly it's on the roadways. That's when you're going to have an opening where you can see either the mountains or whatever. It's nice that it's in this particular one's in the RF and there's a lot of trees around there. So you're not really looking that direction, but you're coming down
West.
West
West.
A. It's right directly. That's why time and time again, I was saying, why can't they just shift that a little bit more into the forest so you don't see it coming down that corridor?
Or
Because at the time, we didn't have that code written
Yeah,
that way,
yeah.
right? And that's why, because Mr. Trustee Nevada's wanted me to come up with a number was for setbacks, depending on what zone. And I'm like, that's gonna be hard because every
It's different.
zone is different, every property is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the better part of what's the intent of those setbacks is not to be able to see it, right? Or safety. in
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah, safety wise.
So when
Yeah.
we set those new corridors, then we eliminate at least one part of that.
Right.
And then the height and the 10% can always be the same as we have it now.
And then, go ahead.
Oh, Mr.
Yeah.
Salzak, just to clarify on that one piece. So, a view corridor is, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it not like being able to see the Oregon Mountains?
Yes.
That's one of them.
Okay,
I understand.
okay,
I understand.
all right.
It can't be a scenic view on top of a mountain or something like that.
Right. Or someone's house, right. Okay.
Road,
All right.
kind of like
Thank you.
that fireworks shop obstructs the view of the mountains.
Yeah, on page 12, 2B, required towers or other antennas setbacks from property lines. At least B needs to be changed because it's contradictory. A is saying up to 75 feet, and then the next is 75 feet to 125. So that needs to be changed at least to 76 feet and 125 feet.
Yeah,
See,
these have to do with, there is a chart, these have to do with the actual, what zone they're in.
Oh,
Yeah, if you look, if you turn one page back, it says, see it specifically here it is, Mr. Commercial.
Yeah.
R1 is
R1,
65,
R8, RF.
RA 65, and RF is 65,
Oh.
75, and 100.
yeah.
And I think those are depending on how many carriers that antenna has.
Well, that's RF.
Yes, RF.
Yeah. So,
Now, here on this one, the one you just finished reading says, towers and other communication sources for, which is specially.
oh, from all property lines.
Exactly.
So that's in any zone,
Yeah, these are
even
not-
though they're not allowed in
No,
anything but RF.
pretty much. Well, they are,
Well-
some of these are allowed in the RA though, in the.
Well,
R1,
the screen,
RA.
okay, let me go back. Look at the chart. Well, RA is non-commercial use.
Yeah, but it's up to 65 feet for non-commercial use only.
Mhm.
That's just antenna, that's not.
Yeah,
Cell towers.
I know,
Some
I know.
people like to have a radio antenna and use that as a hobbyist and such and
Yeah.
talk to Martians or something, I don't know. But, I've tried it.
Any luck?
I didn't get no response. So I don't know.
Well, the reason I'm mentioning that is I'm still trying to figure out this. You said all property lines. It's still in the RF.
should historic commercial also be included as long as it's, no, it's not it, right? Which one are you reading, it the same one?
Number 2,
Oh.
under C.
Required tower or antenna support setbacks from all property lines. That one? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I put, PZ reserves the right to request additional distance to avoid any negative impact from new corridors.
I guess that kind of covers this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty open-ended.
I guess it's a little bit easier that way to say how many footage, how many feet, 'cause, I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
nothing's ever black and white, it's always circumstances.
Agree. Mhm.
You know? Again, we're gonna review this again, this is just the first preliminary discussion, I'm sure there's gonna be many more
Yes.
Yes.
discussions and questions about it.
Very good.
But just kind of give you a little bit of picture, right, and then we can go back and further.
So does Jerry have access to this document that we're looking at?
I gave you a copy of that.
Okay.
May I speak?
Oh, yes.
I didn't receive a copy of that either.
You didn't get a copy of it?
I don't know.
That's
I
why
feel
we
very
were over here
unprepared because I'm
Sure.
like,
Maybe it's just, I'll give you a copy afterwards.
Thank you.
Because I made some notes already on this.
Thank you.
Any more discussion about item 7 on the towers? Didn't sound like it. Exhausted it. Okay, we're up to commissioners and staff comments.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to address some of the comments that were brought up during public input.
Okay.
And also I have a couple other small comments I'd like to make.
Yes, good.
Number one, before I forget, vitals and pictures.
okay, promise.
Once again,
Next time I'm bringing a camera, I'm taking.
Let that take a
pictures.
picture of you.
Our website's got commissioners there for so long, we really do need to.
Yeah.
I think you're on there already, right?
I'm the only one on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Me
are
too.
now?
I'm on.
You are.
Yeah,
I'm on.
Back, yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The ladies are the ones that are on.
I guess not.
Anyway, yeah, just a reminder of that. There was a comments again during public input.
Right.
About some confusion as far as the vote.
Yeah.
The last, time we had a vote, I believe it's, one of the residents asked about, do we need all 5 members on the board to make a decision? Because the prior time, we only had 4, which is 2-2, right? And it didn't, have 5 people, so, the motion died
Mhm.
in a sense, right? And after speaking with the mayor and the mayor spoke with the attorney, the P&Z, I think, I apologize if it's PZHAC, but, the PZHAC is a recommending board to the board of trustees, right? And emotion, you cannot have an answer. It's gotta be yes, or it's gotta be no.
Yeah,
Right? So that's why it was
Can't
brought
have a
back
tie.
for decision. That's why the decision was made to have alternates, to avoid that from happening again, right? 'Cause
Right.
We can't have motion die. We gotta have a decision, yes or no, kind of decision. Now, the time of the last meeting, the time we had the special use hearing,
Mhm.
right? We had quorum, right? We didn't have any alternates to fill in for a missing commissioner,
Right.
which still had led us to 4, right? But
3-1. Yeah.
exactly, still led us to 4, but if it would have fallen if the motion would have died, then the decision would have been to bring it back again, right? And that's what we don't want to do. So it doesn't mean that you can't do it. We just gotta have a decision. We just
Mhm.
gotta have a decision, and that's why we have alternates to have that. But it doesn't exclude. It doesn't prevent you from hearing the case and voting on it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, that's why it came back, and that's why we went ahead and did that.
Can I?
The
When
comment
Tasha's
about,
here, yeah.
let me see, need all documentation, yeah, I've covered that already. The special use permit, not special, the SOP,
SOP.
Comment about the SOP again, just based on our the commissions to come up with a policy to recommend to the board of trustees for approval process. Everything I presented and everything that we approved today under that section, special use permit,
Mm.
I can reference to our code and tell you where it says that what I'm proposing to you, it's not, I'm making any exceptions,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
It's just the way it's being read, and I'm asking the commission to read as well. If there's any, if there was any differences, that's why we came up to this meeting for discussion, and we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm not asking for any leniency or anything like that, or anything outside of whatever the code said. I'm just trying to change past practices, and tie up allows the time for the commission the
Right.
community development department, and that's preventing us from moving forward and doing a positive action
Thank you.
in many senses.
Thank you.
Okay. And I believe that was the three topics. The last one, the resolution is the one I talked about that one already, during the time of the resolution when we voted. Other than that, we do again, thank you, both alternates, we will have a swear in. Well, I'm not done, I'm just taking, you guys can finish.
I know she had a comment. She had a comment for you.
No, I just had a comment. I just wanted to apologize to everyone for not being here last time. I was in the hospital with my dad for 6 days and it was pretty bad. So I apologize.
Well, thank you for doing
Yeah, I'm
that.
not closing the
Understand that.
meeting. I'm just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finishing saying my nice part of it. but-
Okay.
Yeah, next time we will need, have you be sworn in as commissioners, and then we will have to send a formal document to the state, Secretary of State for a record keeping. So just gotta keep that in mind. And then one last one is the swearing in of testimony during hearings.
Mhm.
According to our code, the chair is empowered to swear in testimony and swear in and testify.
Okay.
For that. So
Okay.
so in case,
Good.
you know, for whatever reason. I'm
Yeah.
not here, whatever.
Okay. Good. Thanks. I did have a question, Eddie. And I don't remember where I saw it in the code, but I guess the question is, when do certain things have just a majority, 50%? When does it go to 2/3%?
And again, it's every hearing, and I'm finding that out now, because I'm trying to decide, there's like 5 hearings we want to have in April. I'm trying to decide who's supposed to be listening to, who's supposed to be hearing it. And
Right.
I'm pretty fine tuning this.
Okay.
Reading over and over again. And I'm trying to find out because there's so much, it seems like there's so much controversy.
Right.
But it's not, because it's talking about every section. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
special use permits and hearings, the commission is only responsible for Title 15, 17, and 18.
Right.
That's it.
Mhm.
If there is a special use, we're hearing for alcohol or something else, we don't have hearings. That board of trustees have those hearings.
Okay.
So
Okay, okay.
We're only responsible for those sections of our code. Actually, the next time I come, that's gonna be another one of our discussions is our hearing. So with that said, some of them, like for instance, amendments
Okay.
to our code
Right.
generally require 30 days, notice.
Right.
And it requires the supermajority.
Supermajority. Okay, the 2/3.
For commission.
But we don't make those changes to the code. It's BOT. Correct. We recommend it. Yeah. But so recommending it, does it take a 2/3 vote from us? No, it's
We're just recommending the ones that we actually have
Right.
final approval, that's the one we have to have the correct percent of votes. If we're just recommending, if the BOT is still gonna have a hearing, then we're just required majority, which is.
That makes sense.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I had a question, but I can't remember.
Hold that thought.
Oh, you had a question? but you
I
forgot?
had a
Oh,
question.
Well, think about it. I've got another. No, I forgot.
Okay.
You have any questions? Yeah. Oh, I understand that I talked to the mayor and it sounds like he's trying to set up with the municipal league some training for us, especially new commissioners. Yeah, for all of us, and even include the BOT, I think. So is that April 1st? Is that, I thought is what I heard, but maybe,
I did talk to him also about the ones that we have every year for the conduct, for.
oh, yeah, yeah.
different trustees.
Right, right.
So we'll do all that together, but I don't know, he didn't give me a date, so maybe.
Okay.
He might have said that to you, maybe that.
Yeah, I just,
I know it's
yeah,
supposed to be as soon as the beginning of the year.
that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be better. Or kind of a refresher course, because some of us have been to the meetings that we've had from the municipal league and different, they give about
Different
2 or
topics.
3 meetings, but I've never heard a topic about Robert's rules or
Yeah.
how you really, so we really need that. I'm glad he's,
Again, that would be something that the commission wants to adopt. I think you need to adopt that Robert's rules.
right.
In order for us to be adhered to it. But
Yeah.
maybe they don't, we follow it, but we don't adopt it, so we don't have to, like, follow it to the T in a sense, right?
Right.
The Robert's rules is just a common.
It's a,
It's a common.
it's a guideline.
policy that
It's a
most
guideline.
municipalities use,
Yeah.
but because it's not adopted through the town, it's hard to hold you to it in a sense,
right.
but it's common practices is what generally people follow.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I do believe that we did have a training from the Municipal League on Robert's Rules of Order, but because of the turnover on the commission, I don't think that anyone's, I was the only one I believe that was in that.
oh, okay.
See, I tried to look it up online,
Yeah.
but I mean, after the information, you really have to buy the book.
Yeah.
And the book is like, pricey. I think about
Well,
$5.
that's the condensed version.
Hmm.
And also, hopefully the new commissioners will get a copy
Yes.
of this.
got that?
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if the,
Yeah, they're all set.
you got them? Not the code book. I'm talking about the land use official handbook. You got that? Okay, okay, thanks.
Water plant's another one. Nobody's ready yet. I mean, that's where it all started from, right? Applied structural designs and stuff.
I remember. my
Oh, remember?
question.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I appreciate your comment because he sparked my memory. I was actually going to ask on trainings as well. I did talk to the mayor as well, and
Oh, good.
it's, some of from the municipal league, it's going to be like, I guess, like a Zoom, maybe kind of sort of meeting. And so, but if we could get other trainings, it would be really, really helpful, especially for us that are only,
Yeah, yeah,
like a year old.
It's good to be on the same page.
yeah.
Right,
That's
for
what's
sure.
more important.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like we're up here, we don't know what we're doing, right? It is,
Mhm.
it is kind of, look, well, we're trying to figure out, but we gotta figure, we're, some of us are new at this.
Learning and process.
You don't learn until you learn.
That's right.
That's it.
But yeah, he did mention about the joint. Training.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. That'd be good. Yeah. All right. I think I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We can always count on that.
Count on me for that. Can I get a second?
I did.
Yeah.
I
You
said second.
second.
Sorry.
Okay.
Any discussion about going home?
No.
No, I don't know. I kind of want to
Yes.
stay here.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Chair Washington?
Yes.
Vice Chair Alba?
Yes.
And Commissioner Webb.
Woohoo.
Yes.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Let's go home.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar.
Time is
Did you sign that?
You're up there.
7:23.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. It's not 8:05, huh?
Sorry about your dad.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate